Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. For today's intro, I'll go over some news and update items that pertain to Giga Texas. The first is a reminder, 27 days until the Cybertruck Delivery Event, which will be held here at Giga Texas. I know there's a lot of interest from people that would like to attend. I currently don't have tickets to attend, but hopefully something will work out in the near future. And speaking of which, Martin Vieca, who runs Tesla's Investor Relations, made this posting on the left-hand side of the screen recently on X, talking about the great interest that is overwhelming for the number of people that want to attend. Now, Tesla has allowed referral members who had referral credits to purchase tickets. That was so well received that they had to end the program. And now they're allowing, through the Tesla Say accounts, shareholders to have a lottery to go to the Cybertruck. So again, a lot of interest for this event, and it'll only build as we get closer and closer to the Cybertruck Delivery Event on the 30th of November. Now, speaking of November, there's a lot of activities going on. One of them has to do with the Starship possible second launch coming up sometime in November. We still don't have a date, but I want to let everybody know that I intend to go to that event and cover it. So there will be a short notice that I would not be doing Giga Texas videos, but I'll make sure everybody knows as fast as I can and as soon as I can. And I'll be working with Jeff Roberts to cover while I'm down at Starbase. And finally, the last item I want to cover in the intro is just a reminder that on the 6th of November, this Sunday, we end daylight savings time. So all of the clocks, at least in the United States, for most time zones, will fall back 1 hour. That will affect my coverage at Giga Texas because it'll allow me to arrive earlier and get more of the sunrise views that I enjoy, and I know a lot of other people do as well. So anyway, just a reminder that we do have the end of daylight savings times coming up this weekend. So other than that, we're going to go ahead and get the drone into the air. Let's fly around and find out what is going on here at Giga Texas. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great weekend. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. Well, I hope you enjoyed that brief view of the sun just coming up over the horizon here at Giga Texas. It is early. I was hoping to be able to get a little bit more of a dark start to the day, but with traffic and some other delays, I got here right about this time. So what we'll do is we'll start off here on the northwest corner. You can see the work that's going on here in the 4680 battery cell production area. We'll take a look at that at the end of the video when it's a little bit more light out. But for right now, I'm going to wrap around this part of the building. We'll fly to the south along the west side, and I'll try to give you a few views into the structure. This is, of course, the 4680 production cell portion. You can see that there's a new internal wall. Looks like it's got some white wrapping with some red tape on it. And it looks like they're maybe doing some reconfiguration of that area. You can see some more of the 4680 machines here in this part of the third floor. But unfortunately, I think the reflections and the light is just not working very well for this. You can see some of the materials here that are still waiting to be moved inside to the north part of General Assembly Line 1 for more of the expansion and upgrade work that is continuing while production is also underway. As I continue to fly further to the south, I'll try to give you a little bit of view inside, but again, like I said, the lighting by the time I was able to arrive here was not ideal. But this is a very interesting thing that you'll see in the third floor here is it looks like there are a lot of these crates that have structural battery packs that have been built. I can't identify what they are, but it is interesting to see that. The end-of-line facility here has got some Model Ys coming out. We'll see that here shortly. I did want to show you the horizontal drilling operation here. Looks like it's concluded. The large HDPE pipe with the smaller pipes pulled through it is all completed, and now they're getting ready to connect the conduit in that angled trench to these smaller HDPE pipes so that they can run electrical wire from here underneath the highway over to the new end-of-line facility. The temporary end-of-line facility here is busy. You can see some of the Model Ys just on the inside on the left door, and on the right door you can see some of the light that's used as part of the last-minute checkouts of the Model Ys. And here's a good view slightly earlier. I cropped it in here of the main entrance lit up. You can see inside fairly well. They have some changing LED lights on the interior as well. You can see the raised trapezoid with that stone glass has got the lighting around the perimeter. And we don't see the cyber berms lit up, nor do we see the stainless steel columns and beams lit up, but this gives you a pretty good idea of how it looks just around sunrise and how some of the lighting effects and what it looks like inside. And you can tell with the reflection how the work on the outside continues onto the inside as well. Now they also have a large screen being set up on the right-hand side of the windows, and I saw that being tested on my previous video. This may be starting to get ready for the Cybertruck Delivery Event coming up in just a few weeks now. But overall, this is how the main entrance looks. Again, you can see some of the lighting on the inside, changing colors, and what the third floor looks like over this area as well. A lot more of the items, equipment, and in the distance you can see production lines set up with a lot of robots. Much of the Cybertruck is being built on this floor of the factory here and then extending all the way to the south. So let's get ready to cross over the highway and let's take a look at the new end-of-line facility and some of the changes today. On the distance of the new outbound lot, you can see a lot of trench work. That's for lighting that's being installed, and I'll give you some closer views shortly. Here at the bottom of the screen, we can see how the concrete vaults are being installed with a lot of the conduit continuing this work, extending along the parallel to the power lines and then taking a 90-degree turn at the end of the building. Now this is going to come all the way up to near where the horizontal drilling operation is concluded, and eventually they will be connecting the conduit to that pipe that was pulled under the highway and then the electrical wires. As I continue to pull back and reveal all of the new end-of-line facility, you can see where the excavators are. This is where that pipe was pulled through. They're filling in all of the trenches that were used for that horizontal drilling operation. And what I would expect is at some point here we'll see a new excavation trench so they can connect that conduit to that point. As I continue to fly to the west, this gives you a good view of some of the work where that horizontal drilling used to be. Also how the north end of the end-of-line facility looks. Most of the walls are now in, just this one section remaining, and also some trench work on that west side as well. As I bring the drone up and start looking towards the west, this gives you a good view of that new outbound lot. More of the trench work with electrical conduit on the left-hand side of the screen. We see some of the steel corrugated pipe and the concrete pipe for the drainage, and also this water detention pond that still has water in it from the recent rains. The paving work on this new north-south road continues, as you can tell. They have started at the River Road at the distance in the top, and they've moved their way all the way over to this particular intersection and are continuing to move towards the north. Eventually, we'll connect up to Tesla Road. So here's a good view looking back at the main factory of how this side looks today with a very nice sunrise and clouds over the main factory. And again, this intersection with all of the curbs and how it is starting to take shape as well. We do still see some of the brown red steel here. It looks like it may be either excess or just waiting to be installed inside the building in the near future. As I mentioned, there is trench work that is going on here on the west side of the outbound lot. Its configuration is very reminiscent of what we've seen in other large parking lots, and this will most likely be for lighting. And this is a good view of that conduit, and you can see where I believe and the crosses of each of these excavations where the light poles will be installed. As I continue to pan the drone around, this gives you a good look at the north end of the West Warehouse on wheels, some of the steel corrugated pipe that's in the trench work here, and also looking back at the end-of-line facility across the outbound lot. Some more trenching on the left-hand side as well, probably for more of the light poles, and we'll see that trench work continuing in the near future. The walls are almost all on now, especially on the west and the east sides. On the south side, we can see how the 4 large receiving doors are starting to take shape, plus with some of the personnel doors. The roof is nearly at the end as well, and of course, how the end of the building is looking and will eventually be completely closed in with that wall panels. You see also some of the materials here in this temporary staging yard, and some of that is being moved inside for the operations to begin once the building is completed. So we cross back over the highway again. We're now on the south end of the building, and let's maneuver the drone around and take a look at some of the activity on this end of the building today. The large crane that was used for the continuous flight auger drills is in its process of being disassembled. We can see some of the drills at the bottom of the screen, and this will give you a good view of how they are taking the various segments of the boom part of the crane apart. And it definitely looks like this is indicating that the CFA pile drilling has come to an end. The other drill, or the other crane, is being used to take apart the crane that was the drill right now, and then I expect that to be disassembled as well at some point in the near future. As I pull away, this gives you a good view of the entire south end. A lot of the materials that were staged here next to the angled wall of the Cyberpond have been moved inside now, and it's just, for the most part, remaining items for the footing construction that is continuing to work its way from the east to the west on this south side. This is a good low altitude view of how this graded area is continuing to be prepared, and we can see the excavation work here for more of those footings that is continuing to exist on the now middle side, working its way towards the west. And it's a good view with the workers to get a good idea of the scale. We can also see the perimeter grade beam and then the angled corner here in the middle of the screen, mimicking the building as it exists right now and showing how the structure will look once it's completed. On the right hand side, we see some of the steel reinforced cages for the footings, also more of the steel components on the upper right. It looks like most of those are beams right now, but we should start seeing columns at some point in the near future. More of the rebar is being prepared to make more of the rebar cages for the footings. I'm going to maneuver back this way to give you a different perspective of all of the footings that are being constructed, also how the south end of the Stamping 2 looks today, all of the scaffolding, and it looks like, at least on this face, most of the white paint has been applied. I'm going to come down a little lower in altitude. I had a request from one of my viewers to take a look at these footings. You can see the rebar sticking up. You can also see some of the forms that are being used to make the actual mounts for the columns. The interesting thing is these look like they extend quite a bit above the grade, but I think once the formwork is completed, this will be down near where the grade level is. And I was just kind of curious how that would reflect when the columns are installed once that work begins. So I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude. I want to give you a good view of how this entire southeast corner and working to the west looks with all of the footings today, and how this side of the building is starting to shape up. I did notice this change next to this intersection. I'll bring the drone down. You can see it looks like there are actually at least 2 footings that are being constructed here right now. Why? I don't know. I'm not sure what the purpose is, but that is a new change, and that'll be something else I'll try to keep watching for. So I'm going to reposition the drone over the trees, over this water pond that is one of the last remaining of the original ponds that were here before construction began, and give you a good view of the multi-level parking garage and how it is starting to continue to shape up on the west side with all of the footings. We can see a lot more of the excavation work going on, and form work and rebar work, also concrete work. In the middle is the geopiers, where they're continuing to finish up those piers where the footings will be built, and then of course the steel corrugated pipe here waiting for installation. We see a lot of work at this manifold section underway today. Looks like more of the gravel has been placed on top of those pipes. Also, dirt infill is being placed as well. And eventually this is going to be all covered over, and there will be a road that will run from the left to the right to connect the south side to the north side of this entire facility. But here's a good view of that manifold, the work that's being done right now, and of course the entire construction site, how it looks today. We also see this water management kind of depression on the bottom right. Good view of the geopier and the form work and the footing work. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, the rebar that's being made and fashioned into the cages that goes into the footings. And they're making them just fast enough to be able to put into the excavations that are underway right now. So I expect to see this accelerating more with the footing work in the very near future. At the testing and calibration lot, we do not see any Cybertrucks today, but we do see a lot of Model Ys. It looks almost like the priority right now is to continue to try to ramp back the Model Y production to get it hopefully soon to the level that it was in the spring, which was about 5,000 per week. I don't think that they're anywhere near that right now, but hopefully they will continue to work at that and get the Model Y production where it needs to be, in addition to the Cybertrucks. Now, as I fly over the superchargers, I want to give you a good close-in view of the east side here, more of the concrete apron and forms for the pedestals for the receiving docks on the left. We can also see more of the frames that are being installed. Some of them are getting a covering material, so each of these will have its own cover. And of course, this section here is still waiting for concrete. We can see that the stain work is continuing to progress on the exterior walls to the north. More of the windows have been covered with plastic. And then in this area is where crews are continuing to work to install the electrical wires through the cables, through the conduits, and eventually those cables will connect up to the north to the electrical switchyard. We see these green panels being installed. This is very similar to what we've seen on the south end. I would expect that gray textured material to be put on that, and then the stain work will go on top. So it looks like the windows have been removed on that section, and then the rest is got all of the vents for the furnace system. And this is a good view of the northeast corner. We'll come back and get a closer look at some of that later in the video. But first I want to pull away, give you a good view of this east side, the east side parking lot, the activity with all of the employees, and also give you a good view of the outbound lot, specifically on the left side where we see the lone Cybertruck today. And I'll bring the drone in a little closer and a little bit lower altitude. I'll zoom in, you get a good view of this particular one. And it looks like it's new, but it also has been driven. You can see the mud. And because of the constant construction that's going on here at Giga Texas, I think that's pretty hard to avoid. But this is a good view. I'll do a 360 and we'll continue the tour over towards the battery cathode plant shortly. Maneuver the drone around here, just give you a good sense of the activity and the number of Model Ys here in the outbound lot. A lot of trucks picking up the cars and moving them off site, and I saw plenty of them during my time here doing the drone flight. I'll also show you here the outfall channel for this underground manifold is definitely taking shape, and it looks like all the concrete has now been poured. As I reveal more of the East Warehouse on Wheels, I'll also show you that there's some interesting deliveries down at the bottom of the screen next to the perimeter fence, kind of wrapped in white, and another delivery happening now and some cabinets. I'm not exactly sure what those are. If you happen to know, let me know in the comments of the video. So let's reposition across this east side where we have all of the workshops, some of the trailers and vehicles for the contractors that are continuing to do the construction here. And let's take a look at the battery cathode building. First, we can get a good sense of the east side, that crash test facility as well. And I want to give a view inside the open south end and get a look at how the pneumatic blenders are continuing to be installed. See more of the equipment on the ground ready to be installed inside. And here it looks like most of the installation on the left-hand side is completed with those pneumatic blenders. And they've been installing some columns on the right-hand side and some additional equipment on the right-hand side as well. In the alleyway between the two structures, we can see that large formed section that we saw under construction in my previous video has now had concrete poured, and there's another section of that formed in rebar area waiting for concrete as well. And also we can see how the tanks on the left and some of the concrete work and those vaporizers looks. And on the right hand side we can see those 4 tanks that were unbolted and moved farther to the south. The actual mounts have been reinforced and have had concrete poured. Again, I think this may be because it failed the strength test and they realized that they needed stronger footings for those large tanks. In this area, we can also see that there's some formwork around the base of these stainless steel tanks. Looks like it's going to be a wall structure, and more work on the top of that chilling plant. On the bottom of the screen, we can see some more of the earthwork on top of the geotextile membrane. It looks like they are preparing this entire side maybe for paving for parking. On the north end, we can get a good sense of the work on the lift station, the blue and green pipes on the left, the concrete vaults, some of the lids or the tops for them nearby. And there's also some pipe work that's been installed inside those concrete vaults, and possibly one of the lids for the cylindrical or rounded concrete vault has been in place now, and you can see the open access ports and the workers. So as we continue to fly now to the northeast section, I just want to give you a brief look at the clearing, the amount of dirt that continues to be stockpiled in this particular area. Some of it looks like it may be trash or dirt that will be removed. and also just at the far north, how that large field with the materials still being stored there. We can see that more of the steel corrugated pipe is being installed, or at least temporarily put here in the right-hand side of the screen for storage. And as I pan around, this gives you a good view of that large water detention pond, how it looks today. And this answers the question in my previous video, what was this projection coming out? It looks like they are putting in a manifold system of those steel corrugated pipes. Most likely it will extend all the way over and connect into the water detention pond and serve as another outlet for all of the water that would eventually collect in here during rains. This is a good look at the south end, and the excavation you see here I think will also be for steel corrugated pipe to provide another drain of the water detention ponds. As I maneuver the drone back over towards the die shop, I want to give you a good view of the work that's going on here. On the south end, looks like there's some deliveries of some equipment being put inside that open section on the right, and more work on the windows on the left. There's also a lot of work that's going on here on the west side, specifically what looks to be large chunks of concrete that have been cut out of the slab on the inside. And you can see that coming right up in the middle of the screen. So somewhere inside where that large door is, they're doing a reconfiguration of the slab. And this gives you a good sense of these 9 sections and how the size of that slab is being reconfigured inside. So pretty interesting that they're making that change already. The west side here, the berm continues to have more excavation. As you can tell, they continue to widen and move further and further into what used to be the Martin Marietta concrete batch plants material section. And it looks like they're going to continue this work straight all the way up towards the north to make this entire section rectangular. So I'm going to reposition the drone. We're going to fly over to the electrical switch yard and take a look at some of the work that is going on over there today. A couple of large changes that I noticed today. First is by this large pole. All of the scaffolding is being removed. All of that plastic wrap has been removed. They've installed these kind of pointed devices on the top of the horizontal beams with kind of that rounded top. And then you can see how the large black wire connects up to them. I'm not sure, but that could be part of a lightning system. I'm not 100% sure of that, so if you're an electrician and you happen to know exactly what that is, please let me know in the comment section. I would appreciate that. We'll see something very similar at the north part of the Megapack site. What I'm looking at here is this second transformer, trying to see if it's been energized yet. It does not appear to be at this point in time, because it looks like the breakers are still open, the breaker bars on the right, and that would make sense since the conduit and the electrical wires near the east side of the casting machine structure have not been connected yet, but it looks like it's getting very close to that being able to happen. As I reposition the drone up over the power lines and give you a good view of the Megapack site, which itself is looking nearly completed, the biggest change is on this north end, where we also saw scaffolding and that plastic covering this area. All that has been removed. We see very similar items to what we saw on the north end of the electrical switch yard. And you can see those large black wires, those 3 coming up out of the conduit. Those are the other end of what we saw up at that north end of the switch yard. But here's a good view of the north end electrical system and how it looks today. And right in the middle, we can also see the breakers were actually, it looked like closed, which is interesting to observe. I think that's the first time I've noticed that. As I reposition the drone over this electrical section of the Megapacks, I'll bring the drone down, give you a good view of all of the Megapacks, all 68, the 34 transformers that join 2 pairs of Megapacks. And it does look like all of the wiring has been completed, and it looks like maybe the last checkouts are underway. As I fly up over this staging location with some of these vehicles, we'll cross over Tesla Road, and I want to show you some of the close-in details of the northeast corner of the casting machine structure. What I particularly want to show you is the work that's going on here with this vault, and you can see that protecting fence around it. Inside, you can see the wires. These are the wires that connect around over to the east side of the casting machine structure, and then all the way up to the north to the megapacks, and that will be how the power is routed here. The other thing I want to show you is these crates. We saw these being delivered on the previous video. I'm going to give you a good close-in view. What these appear to be are crates that have the code word Everest, and it talks about front, and some of them are rear body castings. So it looks like they are continuing to make castings off-site and shipping them in. Why? I'm not really sure. Maybe it's part of some of their quality control. Maybe it's indication that they're using these for tests, or maybe it's an indication that they're continuing to do some work on the casting machines themselves, and maybe there's some additional work that is needed until the castings made here at Giga Texas are suitable for production Cybertrucks. But anyway, I wanted to show you that and follow up from my previous video. And the last thing, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, is we're going to come back here. I want to show you some of the work at the 4680 cell section. You can see the truck bringing rebar. You can see a rubbish bin with broken up concrete, so it shows that there's more concrete being broken up, more rebar going in, so we'll see more concrete work, and of course more of the steel items waiting to be moved inside. We also see this cabinet being lifted up to the 4th floor. Here's a good close-in view, so you get a good sense of what that looks like, also with the worker, kind of the scale of this particular platform and the item that's being lifted up to that platform. So otherwise, that's a pretty good view around the Giga Texas on this Friday. And I'm going to do a long pull away to reveal most of the site. You can get a good sense of the west side where we're looking at the end of line facility and the outbound lot. You can see the multi-level parking garage on the left, the south end with all of the footings, the parking lot and the mega pack and switch yard on the right, and of course the battery cathode complex of structures here in the middle. As always, thank you very much for watching and for your great support. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care.